Hey guys, I've been super busy lately trying to scramble and get ready for the art show I have coming up. Well, I guess not necessarily scramble. I've been working on it. But anyways, it's next weekend. So instead of taking my time to write a well thought out blog post, I'm making a couple videos just to give you guys some information that you want to know and then save me some time. So last week someone asked me if I would talk about how I choose my tools and materials. So today I'm just going to kind of give you a mini breakdown of the tools and materials that I use and how I choose them, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So when I first started painting, I was like 7, and so it was craft paint. And then when I was in high school, my parents bought me it's like a little antique wooden chair and some just craft paint, and I painted it. And so that's always been my medium, is just these little craft paints. And I used those for so long in my paintings, and I never really thought I would buy higher quality materials because I try and do everything on a budget. Like, I'm like super money, I stress out about money, and so I try to do everything as cheap as possible. But one day I got to the point in my art when I was feeling limited by what this can do. Hold on just a second, Ralph's calling me. Anyways, so I was feeling limited because I would watch videos of other artists doing things on their canvases, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to do those things, but I couldn't with the paint I was using. For example, I love dripping paint. I love the way it looks when paint is dripping down a canvas. And if you use craft paint, it gets watered down so fast. It loses all the pigment, and it doesn't have the same effect. And so in order to do things like that, you would need a higher pigmented, higher quality paint. And whenever I started using higher quality materials, I can see a huge difference, not only in just the dripping paint thing, but the overall look of my work. And I can show you, so this is an older one I did in, let's see, 2015. Yeah, Ralph was about a year. So this is one, I'll bring it in the light so you can kind of see. So this is one that I did in 2015 using craft paint. And one thing you'll notice about craft paint, now I wasn't super keen on details then. I was just painting just for fun, and I wasn't trying to make it clean work, you know. But you can see how, so craft acrylic dries really fast, and so sometimes if you're trying to blend, it's just harder because it dries so fast. So like I was trying to blend in different colors and things, and I couldn't. It just dries super fast. However, higher quality paint does not dry as fast, and it gives you more time to blend and mix your colors and things like that. So that's like one noticeable difference. So now the paint that I use all the time, that is my favorite, that I love, is the Golden brand acrylics. So these are my favorites, and I use a combination of the fluids, which it's not quite the consistency of craft paint, but it's very runny. That's how I do my dripping paint down the canvas, is with Golden fluid acrylics. And it is expensive, and the first time I bought it, like, this is the first color I bought. It was a total splurge at the time, and I can't remember exactly. These are like 12 or I don't know, 12 or 20, I can't remember, dollars for 4 ounces. I know it sounds crazy, but it lasts way longer. So like I get way more use out of this than I do those little craft tubes, and I can do a lot more. It's way more versatile. And So sometime I'll give kind of a demonstration of the difference, but not in this video, I don't think. We'll see how much time my kids give me today. Yeah, and you can also get them in the smaller size. Like if you just want to try them out, the 1 ounce options are good too. And then you can get more colors like to try instead of spending on just like one large one. But oh my gosh, if you do hand lettering, let me tell you, this stuff is amazing. I don't do as much hand lettering as I used to do. I used to just, well, it's sold. Maybe I should try it again. I used to paint really colorful backgrounds on my canvases and then do like quotes on top. And I would use a tiny brush and craft black acrylic paint. And I would get really frustrated, which is why I stopped doing it. But now when I do it, this stuff is amazing. It is so slick and it goes on the canvas so nice and dark and black the first time. Where it's just a richer black than craft paint ever was for me. And then sometimes when I finish a painting and I just want to add some big bold drips, I go for these high flow fluid acrylics. I just literally squeeze them right onto the canvas and it only takes like a little bit. So those are my favorite paints. And then I finally just bought this golden titanium white. This is a heavy body acrylic. I don't know if you're familiar with, so heavy body just means it's thicker and it gives more coverage. It's not as fluid and it dries a little faster. So I use it to like cover things up. Like on this, I cover up a lot of stuff. It's not full coverage. I don't even know if that's the correct term to use. That's more like makeup language, but it's not full coverage. You can still see through it, which I like. I like to see all those layers, but it also maintains that bright white. So I used to use the Liquitex for that because it's cheaper, but it doesn't, it's not as bright white. It doesn't cover as much. You can see through it and it does cover, but it's just not the same effect that I was going for in my work. So, and I definitely used these for a long time. Oh, they're so messy. I don't even think these are from Hobby Lobby. The Masters Touch Acrylic, Liquitex Basics. They're cheaper than Golden, and I used them for a long time. But just recently, I found that I enjoy using the fluid paint mixed with the heavy body better. And I have a few heavy bodies that I play with that are Liquitex, and I haven't really noticed a huge difference between Liquitex and Golden on these, but the white, there's a huge difference. So if you are interested in those things, I would recommend Golden fluids, Golden heavy bodies, and then you could fill the rest with Liquitex. And there is one craft paint that I still use because, well, I have a ton of it and I really like it. But let me find it. So my favorite craft paint when I do use it is Americana. It's my favorite. This Bahama Blue, it mixes really well with the fluids, the Golden fluids, and well, all the other ones. But sometimes craft paint is tricky because every color kind of behaves differently. Like sometimes if you're mixing paints with craft paint, I don't know if you've done this before, but I've had trouble mixing colors because they're just not consistent from color to color. But this one works really well with the higher quality, and you can't tell, like when I use this in a painting, you can't really tell that I used craft acrylic. And I can show you, let me find one that I did. Okay, so these paintings, I was kind of experimenting with abstract landscape and just kind of doing a color study mostly. But this is a combination of Golden fluids, golden heavy body titanium white, and then that craft acrylic Americana blue, that Bahama blue. And I just had like an interesting effect to me that I cannot mix that color in a way that I like as much if I don't use the craft paint. So it's always good to have a variety of materials on hand if you're trying to create a specific effect. Here's, let's see, this one you can see I'm trying to see if, oh, turn the camera. These drips right here, those were done with the high flow fluid. So it's just good. And then let's see, the last time I bought materials, it was a long time ago. I've been doing good. I used to buy them all the time, and I've like told myself like, you can't buy anything else until you run out of something. So anyways, I saw these online. One of my favorite artists uses these like in combination with everything else, and they're thick like heavy body, but they act more like craft paint. They're like still really fluid, so it's like a happy medium between craft acrylic and heavy body. So I think they're amazing. These it's like the consistency, this is gonna sound weird, it's like the consistency of squeezable butter. So it's like it comes out fast and it has a good flow, but it's also still got that creamy texture. So that's Lucas Krill Studio. I don't know where it's from, another country, but they're amazing. And oh yeah, sometimes I play with this, which I got it on clearance at Jerry's Artorama one time. It's acrylic mousse, which is exactly what it sounds like, and it's matte. It just is totally different. I only use it occasionally because of I got like this lavendery pastel purple color, so I don't use it all the time, but when I do, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's cool. It just has a different feel to it. It's kind of like whipped. Have you ever had whipped yogurt? That's the kind of consistency it is. Okay, so that's a little bit about the paint that I use. Oh, and one other thing that I love that is just super fun. So these fluorescent colors are amazing. It doesn't matter if you get, I haven't seen a difference between the brand. I've tried a few different, like I've tried the Lucas ones and Master's Touch. I don't think the brand matters, but they do really cool things. Some people I know are like afraid of neon, and that's really not how these behave. They're translucent paint, so if you're layering your paint, whenever you put fluorescent on top of anything, it just becomes a bright layer with that tint. So it's not going to be neon yellow. So I would totally encourage you, like if you get anything out of this video, if you are a painter or whatever, pick up one of these. They're really cool to play with. And it literally just takes whatever color you have and like pops it. So I love to throw them in with whatever I'm working on. So let's say I'm in the mood for greens and blues and purples, and that's how I'm building my palette that day. I'll put a little fluorescent green on my palette too, and just occasionally put it in there with everything else, and it just kicks that up a notch. And I've done a few canvases where I did fluorescent paint on the whole thing, and those are super cool too. I'm not really finished with them, and they're kind of put up where I can't show you, but it's just a neat thing to play with. So I would encourage mixing a few of those in. They're really neat. Yeah, so that's about the paint. And then for brushes, I have a love-hate relationship with paintbrushes. So all of my life I've used these like super cheap brushes that you can get in like any Michael's, Walmart, anywhere, like the cheapest ones. They're great, fine, and wonderful. Just the cheap ones. I like flat. I like the flat ones. I don't really like the round ones. And one time, because they were on sale, I got like the professional quality ones, And the only difference is they're not as stiff. They clean easier, and they just have a different shape. So if I'm going at a canvas like this and not this, like I'm making marks, it's a different shape than this flat one. But really, I've gotten to where I don't use paintbrushes anymore. I use foam brushes. These super cheap foam brushes, I'll buy a huge pack of them like this, because they kind of wear out. Big old variety pack. And at Michael's or wherever, sometimes you can get them in the dollar bins and just buy like 5 for $1 or whatever. They are amazing because I like to blend colors together, and you can literally like scrub, I don't know, like you kind of scrub at the canvas a little bit, and it blends everything to where there's no brush strokes. Of course, if you want brush strokes, you can get that effect too, but it makes it look a little bit more seamless, and I don't know, I like that effect. So a couple of sometime I'll have to do like a demonstration video or something where I show like different techniques I've learned, but definitely with the, I'm trying to look at a good example. So I like to blend my colors together. So like on this canvas, all of that pastel was done using a foam brush, and it's not really streaky. It doesn't really have brush strokes. And I like that. I just think it has a neat look. And then another thing I like to do with them is whenever I like quickly, I don't even know if I can explain it without doing it, but I'll go down the side of the canvas with the pointed part of the foam brush, and I kind of alternate between pushing really hard and lightly scraping it on there. And what it does is it creates this, I don't know if you can see those little marks that it makes. Here, let me turn with the light. So not the black, but the places where it looks like the color is all broken up. I was doing that with a foam brush. I don't know, I just think it has a really neat look. And then the only other specific thing I look for in a brush is if I'm doing tiny details. I love these little tiny round brushes for that. So I use big flat brushes, tiny round brushes, and a variety of foam brushes. And then the cool thing about these is if you forget to wash them and they dry out, they're super cheap. You can throw them away and get some more. I might do that a little bit too much. Okay, so that is a little about my materials and tools that I use. And on canvases, my only comments on canvas is get what you can. I mean, every time I look at art, like if I'm looking at an art festival or an art show, or if I'm in a gallery, I don't look at the canvas and think like, I wonder what quality canvas this person used. I don't think that's what matters. And the artist that I really like and that I learned from, she started painting on cardboard. So I don't think canvas quality matters. Also, my dad sometimes randomly sends me a pack of canvases, and they're not the highest quality, but it's something to paint on, and I'll totally take that over nothing. So, you know, just kind of do with what you can. And if it's not your thing to buy canvases, you can also buy canvas paper, which works really well. But watercolor paper is amazing. So if you're going the paper route and you have paint, I wouldn't buy mixed media because it'll buckle. Mixed media paint will, but watercolor paper does really well with acrylics. Anyway, so yeah, I hope that was helpful to you, and let me know if there's anything else you want to know.